this video we're going to be looking at the crystal ball and seeing how we can use it in our photography. Alright, let's get started. Hey guys, so I've seen loads of people post pictures of them using glass balls in their photography and I wanted to give it a go. So I looked online and I found this ball for between £20 and £25. I'll drop a link in the description below. I bought it just before I went to Australia so I could test it out there. Now before I started using it, there was a few things that would have been useful to know. So here are 5 tips to help you out when you start using your glass ball. Tip number 1 is the ball flips everything upside down. So if we shoot directly through the ball, our final picture will actually be flipped upside down, which means we need to then use software to flip it back around the right way. Now this is particularly significant if you want to sit it down somewhere or if you want someone to hold it, because the background, if you flip it around the other way, the background will then be the other way around. So if we look at this picture here, I've taken a red rock in Australia, I've placed the ball onto the rock, and the final image that I flipped upside down actually looks like it's being grabbed by the rock from above rather than sitting on the rock from underneath. Now this is just particularly important if you want someone to be holding the ball and you want the hand coming from the right angle. So if we were holding it from underneath, the final picture would look like the hand was holding it from above, and if you're holding it from above, the final picture it would look like you were holding it from underneath. This is also something to bear in mind if you clearly want to see the background of the picture. Okay, on to the next one. Tip number 2 is that this glass ball can get very hot in the right circumstances, so you need to be really careful. Now when we were shooting in Australia, the sun was obviously shining on this ball and it would create a focus point for the sun, so I'd be worried about starting a fire if you were somewhere with dry grass or for a long period of time. But also where people were holding it, it would focus onto their hands and it could actually burn their hands. And my mum actually dropped this at one point, luckily onto the sand, where she was so shocked from the heat it can give off. So for this reason, I keep it in an old sock, this high-tech piece of equipment. And this way I know it's going to keep safe from scratches, but also not catch the sun. So it may not look very stylish, you may have your own ways of dealing with this, but this was a rather inexpensive way to deal with the problem. On to the next tip. Tip number 3 is that this ball is actually quite heavy. Okay, so if you're putting this, so if you want to take this on holiday and you want to put it in your suitcase or in your hand luggage, it weighs 1.3 kilograms. In fact, it's just over that. So it takes up a considerable amount of your luggage if you're going away. So if someone's coming out and holding it for you when you're taking pictures, it's important you know that their hand's going to get tired very quickly when you're ordering them around, and it's also important for them to know so that they don't drop it. When I was in Iceland, I did meet a photographer who had a smaller ball, and he seemed to be going on fine with that. I just preferred this because I could find nice places for it to sit when I was walking around. Okay, so we're on to the next tip. Tip number 4 is have somebody to help you when you're doing this. So there will be some circumstances where you can literally just put it down somewhere and shoot with it. For example here, this picture from New Zealand, I just put it on this, I put it on a log that was sticking out of the water, and it made a really nice pattern in the background with all the pebbles and the blue sky. But if you want someone holding it, it's really difficult to do it yourself whilst holding the camera. So I would recommend having someone that's got a bit of patience with you, that knows what you're trying to do, and they will really listen to you and get exactly what you want. I also found that people tended, when they're holding it, to hold their fingers across the front of the ball, which is obviously not ideal. So you need to be really careful that they hold it from the sides, and you need to instruct them to do that. And now we go on to the last tip. Now, tip number 5 is going to be bearing in mind what lens we're using when we're taking the picture. So I really like this for doing landscapes, and for this I was using mainly my long lens, my 200mm. And so if you look at this picture here, it looks like we can pick up a whole ecosystem, and I really like this effect. But as part of this effect, I wanted the background completely blurred, so this is where I use the long lens. Now if I was shooting something more geometric or using shapes, which is another really good way to use this lens, I would recommend using a wider angle. So the background will be sharper, and you'd also be able to see more of what's going on in the background, which will really help the overall effect of the picture. Now I particularly like this for shooting landscapes, but I also really want to experiment with different geometric shapes. I really wish I'd thought about using it in this church here in Iceland, but maybe that's one to try for another time. I'm going to take this into London one day and really see what this can do, using all the different lines and shapes that London has to offer. Okay guys, so that's all the tips for this video. I would just also like to say that this lens can scratch quite easily. So if you are placing it on rocks, be really careful of it. I did actually scratch it a bit here. So when I put it down, I always make sure that this bit's hidden from the camera. But overall, I was really happy with the pictures I got from this, and it's really fun to have to experiment with it, put it in different places and see what sort of images you can get. I'm really interested to see what pictures you get, so if you want to send them in, please drop a link in the description below and I will be happy to look through them all. Now, I got a lot of positive feedback from using the glass ball. So when I was out in different countries taking pictures, I'd always get people looking at me strange, and my family would always take the fun out of me when I got them to hold it for me because they didn't really know what I was doing. But actually people genuinely seem to be really impressed by the final results, and it's really easy to do. If you're looking for something different to do and looking for some more creative things you can do, I highly recommend the glass ball. Again, if you have any pictures that you would like to share with me that you've taken the glass ball, I'd love to see them. Just drop them in the link down below. And that's it for this video. If you do have any questions or anything you would like to know, again, drop that in the description down below and I'll be happy to get back to you as soon as I can. And I hope to see you in the next video. So here's a picture I took at Red Rock with my mum. Now I met my mum out there for about a week or so, and she liked to show me around. This was one of my favourite places she took me. So I really like this picture because it's like she's like picking up a memory for me. And she didn't like her hands in this one, but I like it because it's her hand and it's a nice memory to have.